Hey guys, I want to bring to you what my light elemental rift farming team is. With the light, I'm just gonna get right into the team right now. So basically, with the homunculus out now, a lot of people are farming the light rift that haven't really been farming it for a while, and a lot of people ask me what my team has been. No, I've been getting consistently a rank with team with this. Ideally, what you want is single target, single attack nukers that have really good first skills. Basically, that can do a lot of damage off their first skill. That way, if you pull in with Tark, you can do really good damage. I use Theo, Fire Homunculus, Squaw, and Water Monkey King. You can use assortment of other things out there. You can use the Water Kung Fu Girl, which is really popular out there, or Faye if you actually have that. That's probably ideal. If you have Perna, those are really good. Sigmoris is really good. Any of the Squall Chimeras are really good. So Rakan's not good, but I don't know Teor, Lagron, Shan, those are all really strong. You want something that can do damage on all skills, not just really the third skill. So you don't want something like Brandier where most of the damage comes from one nuke on the third skill. You want something that has good damage on all their skills. That's ideal. Again, and you want them to do it in a single hit, not multi-hit. So something like Julie's not ideal, even though Julie does a massive amount of damage. Most of her first skill is 2 attacks, and her third skill is 4 to 6 attacks. So those are not ideal units to bring out there. But I think um, if you need to use it, it's fine. If your best damage dealers are multi-hitters, and you have to ignore the shield part, the multi-hit part, go ahead and do it. It's really about putting out as much damage as possible. Again, ideally you want single hits, but if you don't have them, multi-hits are fine. It's not the end of the world to bring multi-hitters. It's just a little bit less efficient. But if those are your best Rune units are going to carry you further than having, uh, you know, knocking down that shield a little bit faster. The other thing you really wanted to focus on for most people here is the front line is kind of what's important out here. My front line's not great. Chasun is tanky, yes, but Theo obviously isn't tanky. But I use Theo for front line because he has that special endure ability. So even when when his life taken, he can still front line for another turn. And if Chasun gets a heal off, possibly another 2 or 3 turns after, you get that part what's it called? The indoor proc out there. Again, it's about survivability. Other things that have second lives for frontlining that's pretty good is Perna. Perna is probably ideal. Wind Anubis is okay because it does good damage. Again, what else has multiple lives? I'm trying to think. Water Fairy King has a second life. I'm just not sure how good the Water Fairy King would be. I don't think it would be great. Other things you could go for frontline are if you have high tanky units that can still do massive amount of damage. So something like the Fire or Wind Monkey Kings are really good choices for the front line. I'm here bringing Copper as it because Copper is not the ideal choice, but it's one that I wanted to show that works. Because Copper has high defense, so it's going to be able to tank out most of these hits. It does decent damage, mainly in his third skill. The problem with this is not going to work is really well is because we don't have a defense buffer with this team here, and that's not really necessary. It would help to improve Copper's defense for his damage and to make it more viable. But again, if you have nothing else to work with, it's perfectly fine. Copper again is going to just do really strong damage. It should be able to tank out. I prefer just a second life mindset before with Theo or Perna. If you have a Perna is just amazing. I can't say enough about Perna. Perna would also be good because Perna's heal's probably strong enough to keep everyone alive or sustain it long enough. But again, Copper's a decent choice if you're really lacking options. I'm trying to think of units that people generally have built up that people have that's obtainable. Um, But the backline units for these damage dealers, These things are all these are, and I use Fire Homunculus, Water Monkey King. A lot of them are interchangeable. You can use something like Stella's fine because it brings in defense break, branding. I understand skill 3 is the multi-hit, but skill 1 just does really good damage without um, the multi-hits. You can use something like the Wind Magical Archer or Della. And obviously that may be a little bit squishy, but it's the same idea as Tark. You can bring the Kung Fu Girls. And if you can even possibly frontline the Water Kung Fu Girl. That's it's an option out there. It's not the craziest thing out there. Again, because skill 1 procs into skill 2, and you get revenge procs out there, so you get a little bit extra damage without moving this counter up. That's always a nice thing to happen if you can. Just possibly do more damage without moving the counter up. It's the same thing as Rage, where if you get those counter attacks out there, you just hit the damage that doesn't move this counter. This counter pretty much is what determines how much damage the boss does when it does their big attack. So right here, now that you see how this number is going up, pretty much whatever that number is, that's how much more attack power the boss has. So you want to, ideally limit how many turns you're taking out there. See, this team here, it's not as good. Again, it works. It got S rank. It's not the best thing in the world, but I think that gives you an idea of what you can possibly build for your teams out there. Let me go over my runes a little bit for there. Water Monkey King here, again, just a pure damage build. Speed, crit, it's on attack, crit damage, attack on Swift. Nothing too special, just a lot of attack, a lot of crit damage. Here's my Theo. Again, 17,000 HP. That's not really how much HP you look for a frontline unit generally. But again, the Endure proc is what really pushes it out. You want to have enough HP on him so that he's not procking Endure on the earlier round. So I really do recommend somewhere, if you do use Theo frontline, around that 17,000. Just because it will pop Endures in the middle of the third round at that rate. And obviously, if your healers are not as strong, you may need a little bit more HP before Endure pops. Again, he's on speed, crit damage, attack. Pretty standard attack rune is pretty standard for Theo. I believe this is a Tark I'm using here. Again, HP is really low, but it still lived the whole way through. Not much attack, really low defense. Crit rate should be a little bit higher, but it's what it is. He is max skilled. What else was I using? Hua here. Again, crit rate's a little bit low, but I use this for raid. I tend to use crit rate leader in raid a little bit, so that's why I got away with such low crit rate, but that crit rate really should be higher. I don't have a really good reason why that crit rate's not high enough. This is the copper I use out there. Again, it's just for defense. It's Guild Wars. Just massive amount of defense and attack. Where's my Chasun? Chasun is the other one here. Really tanky, pretty fast. Healer. I just want to show one other team comp out there. So if you don't have a Chasun, and I understand not everyone has a Chasun, and that's not the thing that breaks this fight here. You can. I'm going to go back to the Theo, and you can use Colleen for that role of Chasun, that healing role, and the attack buff role. The attack buff is obviously really important because you want your units to do as much damage as possible, and attack buff is really good. Chasun's only a 2-turn attack buff. Colleen's a 3-turn attack buff. I kind of like that for Colleen a little bit more. Colleen's also on revenge for most people if you're using it on for rage, but again, the damage put out from Colleen's nothing, so it's not even that important, the revenge part. Ideal sets for your units out here is revenge, just because again you want to pile up that damage without moving that counter up as possible. But again, it's not, it's really about you getting your stats, getting more damage. Anytime if you don't know what you're doing wrong with these drifts here, generally the right answer is add more damage. Going 5 DPS units I think is the best way to go. You're not looking to sustain out, especially with these counters out here. The turn counters tends to go a little bit crazy. They're going to get really high. The amount of damage they're going to put up you're not going to be able to sustain that longer. So the best way to go about it is just to kill the boss faster. If you're not killing the boss and you're looking how to improve your teams, look for ways to add more damage. Plus 15 nose runes, plus 15 slot 2, 4, 6, plus 15 slot 1. You know, the sustain from slot 3 and 5 powering up generally is not going to make or break your runs outside of your frontline units. You know, Theo and Chasun for me, obviously, I have the 3 and 5 max. I would recommend you, whatever frontline units you're using, you want those to be maxed HP on max runes all the way around. The back line, just worry about the DPS runes. Even slot 1, that little bit of extra damage really does matter. It pushes you just that little bit over from failing at this point right here versus just actually killing the boss and getting that, you know, difference from A+ and getting double S sometimes. You know, so it's really important that you do that. Like I was saying, Colleen here is, you know, obviously sustaining long enough. The back row here, you see, these are all fairly squishy units. They are very squishy. And they all, you know, you saw my talk. My talk had like almost no defense, very little HP. It's a very squishy unit. It is. Right now, Theo finally died here, and that's pretty much that last burst here. And then that's where we need to burst this down here. That's kind of the mindset of this team here. Again, I got to show the skills of my fire homunculus. I don't think I showed that. But he's just on the speed scaling, skill 1, defense break on skill 2, and skill 3 is the burn soul. Obviously, eruption will do more damage. That's probably the better choice, but I use it for other places. But I'll show off his runes, and I'll show off Colleen's runes next. I should have did that all at once together, but mistakes were made. So this is Colleen, not super tanky. 24,000 HP roughly, 1,000 defense, pretty fast, 240 or 238 speed, pretty fast. But I don't think you need to have speed that high. And what was it? Fire homunculus. Yeah, that's his damage here. Again, speed, crit damage, attack, a little bit more crit damage, a little more crit, a little bit more crit rate would be ideal. Again, his skills here. That's the Flame Ray Flood. Scales off speed. Second one, Magic Bullet Accelerate. And third one, Burn Soul. Don't need the Fire Homunculus to do it. Again, replace it with any other single target nukers. Of my box, like I said, you could use something like Ardella. You could possibly get away with Lucian. I don't think Lucian's really good. Even Shimate should be okay. But they're on speed, crit damage, attack builds for me right now, so they're not on attack on 2. So that's kind of why it's kind of gimping the damage a little bit because they don't scale off speed. I'm trying to think. Like I said, Water Kung Fu should work really well. Trevor might work. It does have multi-hits on skill 1, but again, it should be fine if you need to. You know, just basically always just look on ways to increase more damage. Obviously, if you have light and dark units, you should be using them. You should be utilizing them. I didn't put them in my video because I know a lot of people don't have strong single target dark unit nukers. If you have them, use them. They'll increase your score. They get an elemental advantage. They'll just do a little more damage. It's not necessary to have dark units, but again, if you have them, feel free to utilize them. They will scale out a little bit better. Let me know how if this video helped you out. Let me know if you have any questions. If you need help building your teams, you know, I can look at what units you have, what you might help you out. Just leave a comment below if you need any help or if you have any questions on the rifts. And I'll see you guys in the next video.